This is Fernando Alonso's points post-Austria. And this is Lance Stroll's points in the same car after Austria as well. So the question is, what is going on with Lance Stroll? So I'm going to split this video into 4 sections on how he's got his seat, why he might not keep his seat, how good he did in the past seasons, and all of this good stuff. So for the first part, I'm going to focus on his head-to-head since 2020, because I will give him the benefit of the doubt for his first 3 seasons in 2017, 2018, 2019, just to show you that these are the stats of no longer a rookie driver. I'd say after 2 seasons, you're allowed to criticise them, as they probably won't get much better from there. So, first off, in 2020, Lance Stroll got 75 points, which may sound respectable, but then his teammate got 125 points, and he even won that race. It was Sergio Perez. So, again, his 4th season in F1, and I know Perez is a good driver, but as we've seen in that Red Bull, is nowhere near a championship winning driver, and he's being beat by 50 points. It's pretty bad, it's not terrible, but you can see that he's lacking a bit of that ability that other drivers have, and you can tell that he's a bit of a pay driver from that stat. Then going into 2021, this is when Aston Martin was born, and his dad got stakes in the team, and of course that meant Stroll kept his seat, and to tag alongside, he had Sebastian Vettel as a teammate. And now, I know what you may say, yes, having Vettel as a teammate, he's not going to beat Vettel, but just take into consideration, this is by no means prime Sebastian Vettel. He did get beat by Leclerc. You could tell that Vettel wasn't as good of a driver as he used to be. So, in 2021 got 43 points and Stroll got 34. Again, I think in that Aston Martin, a 9-point gap isn't that much, but I still think at aging Vettel and in his 5th season in F1, I really think it's starting to show that if he wasn't a pay driver, he wouldn't be in F1 at this point. And then we get on to 2022, which was last season, where Vettel got 37 points. And again, by no means a prime Sebastian Vettel. This is a very aged Vettel. He literally retired this season. And again, I'm not saying Vettel is bad, because I know Vettel is not bad. He is still a great driver. But I don't think in that season, if he was in a Red Bull, he would have been able to win a championship at that point. And Stroll got 18 points. And now, I know not a lot of us had high expectations of Stroll, but it's just really showing his lack of ability. So, let's get on to section 2, which is the Lawrence Stroll aura around Aston Martin. So, everyone knows Lawrence Stroll owns a stake in Aston Martin. It's around 20%, which is pretty big in the F1 team, but the big factor is, by no means, he makes all of the decisions. Yes, he has a massive input into all of the decisions, but if he loses the backing of everyone else, Stroll can still lose his seat. And he's a businessman. Now he's got Alonso in this seat, who's showing how well that Aston Martin can do. They're fighting for second in the Constructors in F1, and all of this means more money for the team, more sponsors for the team. So, Lawrence Stroll knows if Lawrence Stroll doesn't pick up his boots, they won't be making as much money as they could with potentially a different driver. So then the third section of this video would be, what are the potential new drivers they could bring in to replace Lance Stroll? And for me, like the Perez video, I think there are 3 drivers that could go to Aston Martin realistically. First one, obviously Leclerc. Now the Ferrari has picked up its pace a little bit, so I think that's a bit more of a doubt these days. But if Ferrari can't provide a race-winning car by the end of this season or next season, I feel like he might be able to jump ship. And Aston Martin, if they keep up this pace, could be a fresh new start for him, where he could get a bit more experience from a driver like Alonso. Because at the minute, he is the main driver at Ferrari, and maybe he needs an experienced driver to help him a little bit at the minute, because we all know Leclerc crashes a little bit too much. But then the other driver obviously is Norris. I spoke about replacing in the Perez video, and basically again, Norris has got so much potential, and if McLaren don't utilise him, they're gonna lose out. Someone's gonna pick him up. It's gonna be Red Bull, Mercedes, Aston Martin or Ferrari. All of them will want a driver like Norris, and Norris would happily move there if McLaren don't get better. And then I think this one will shock quite a few people, but for me, he's impressed me this season, is Zhou Guanyu. Now, of course, Alfa Romeo, normally he would go over to Ferrari, but say Zhou keeps up this form and can actually do pretty well for the rest of the season, maybe they look at him and think, hold up, let's give someone else a try and put him in the Aston Martin. Now, I think this is a long shot because same goes for Tsunoda if he doesn't get a Red Bull seat soon. I think Tsunoda could be a great option for Aston Martin. Same for either of the Alpine drivers, but I believe Alpine have their own project, which I think Gasly and Ocon are pretty happy to be a part of for the minute. So there are quite a few drivers that could replace Stroll. So it will happen if he doesn't get better. And my God, his season has not been good enough, so it potentially could be by the end of this season that he gets replaced. And not only him who gets replaced, but we've got to remember Alonso's age. He can't race forever. I know a lot of people would disagree and say he could be driving till he's 50, and by no means I wouldn't be surprised if he was driving when he was 60. That man's got race pace coming out of his arse, you know what I mean? He could find the pace anywhere. Even if he was sick, he would still be one of the fastest on the grid, Alonso. Jesus. But they will have to replace someone there as well, and I feel like he'll definitely be around for next season. But say next season, he wants to retire. He's had quite a few podiums, you know, he maybe had a race win. And then Stroll's still not really living up to what Aston Martin need of them, and they keep on dropping points to Mercedes and Ferraris and coming fourth in the Constructors or third and losing out to Mercedes and Ferrari because of Lance Stroll. Maybe they'll go for a fresh start. Bring in 2 new drivers. Really is a possibility. So, I think that's about it for the video. Tell me what you think will happen with Lance Stroll. Tell me if you think he's been doing well enough. Do you think it's unfair that we think he should be getting rid of? Do you think Lawrence Stroll, his dad, would get rid of him? Comment down below all of your thoughts and ideas. And hey, I'll see you all next week.